Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Behind the Birk. Thanks for tuning in. My next guest is Jessica Clinton. She is in a band called Bellehouse, based out of New York. That's where she currently lives. But the sweetheart that she's making time in her visit with her family to be interviewed by Behind the Birk, which is awesome. Bellehouse just released Capsized in January, so I'm going to talk to her about that. I'm going to talk to her about a bunch of stuff. I'm so excited. I haven't seen Jessica in like 9 years, which is weird. Please enjoy this interview. I know I will.
Behind the Birk. Behind the Birk. Behind the Birk. Behind the Birk.
Cool. We're gonna start with some icebreaker questions.
Okay, cool.
You ready? What's your favorite movie?
Oh, damn. That might be the hardest question of the interview. I don't even know.
I don't know.
One of them, I mean, I love the Coen brothers, almost everything they've done. Probably The Big Lebowski or A Brother, Where Art Thou are way up there for me, for sure.
Okay. Favorite show, TV show?
Probably Seinfeld. It's like a problem. It's like, if Seinfeld were food, I would be morbidly obese. So I'm waiting for a trivia night to roll through that would be relevant to that, and
Yeah.
Anyway.
Nice. How many times have you watched the whole series, do you think?
Oh gosh. I mean, it depends. I haven't seen every episode as many times, but I would say 5 to 10.
Okay.
And there are 9 seasons that have 10 to 20 episodes each, so if you take out the commercials, it's 20 minutes each.
Yeah.
It's gotten me through some dark times. It's kind of fluff.
Oh. Yeah.
New York City.
It's like me and Party of Five right now.
Oh, yeah?
It just went on Netflix, and I was like, oh, check it out. And now I'm season deep, and I'm like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
I also realized recently how steeped my parents are in it too. We'll just constantly reference it. It's starting to, I have a friend in New York, I'll do that too. It slowly starting to drive my boyfriend and my friend's wife crazy. You can see them emotionally scooting away from us at the table.
What's your favorite book?
I really love Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. That was a really good book. I'm reading a great book right now about the Iditarod called Winter Dance. It's a biography.
Okay.
I'm very into, just in general with movies and shows as a genre, anything outdoor, adventure, biography kind of thing. I have a fantasy of making that the second half of my life. It's not necessarily the Iditarod, but
yeah.
It's on my bucket list to ride a sled with sled dogs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Favorite song?
Ah, shit. Excuse me. I didn't bleep that out.
No, cursing is allowed.
Word. Oh my god. That's really kind of impossible. There's a song that keeps speaking to me at different points in my life called Cactus Tree by Joni Mitchell, and I just love that song. She has so many that I just really adore, but that one it just kind of hits me. It hits me deep. Deep cuts.
Favorite color?
Probably blue or red in some shade. I like the darker, like jewel tones. That's a thing, I think. Maybe crimson red or burgundy, if I had to choose.
Okay. Those are good colors. I approve. Favorite place in LA? Or New York?
Oh.
Maybe.
Well, I could probably do both.
Okay.
LA would be probably anywhere around Topanga Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
I was just there today, actually, and it's like a world away, as they say. It's any place that you can go in the city and not actually feel like you're in the city.
It's probably so green right now too. Right?
It's beautiful because the drought is over. There are wildflowers and just incredible kind of like mustard has taken over the entire valley, and it's just really gorgeous. So, let's see. New York, probably also like a park. I love Prospect Park for that similar reason. There's a park near me in Greenpoint called McGolrick Park that I love because it has really, really tall beech trees, and I've learned living in New York it's hard to, it's like a serious endeavor to try and find like a patch of grass you're okay with sitting on for like sanitary reasons. And so that stuff is precious. It's pretty good. I'm sure a million dogs and people have peed on it like every day,
but don't think about
somehow
that.
it's still green. It's like it's like pee resistant grass.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, that.
What kind of grass is that?
I don't know, man. New York grass is tough.
Tough like the people.
Tough like something like that.
So your dad is George Clinton.
Yes.
So how did he impact your music?
Well, the George Clinton that my father is one of obviously two that are prominent in the music scene. The other being that guy. Yes, he's the other George Clinton, depending on who you ask. So, funny story about that. They actually know each other specifically because they have the same name, and they've gotten their PRO, the Performing Rights Organization that divvies up royalties and stuff they both belong to, actually has them mixed up for a lot of. They're both so prolific that there's things that they actually kind of cross-pollinate on, and they get each other's checks. Sometimes.
It's horrible.
It's really, they think it's hilarious, and they got sat next to each other at like a Berkeley function recently. Someone was like, well, we got to put the George Clintons together. Anyway, they both work with Quincy Jones. They actually have quite a lot in common, all things considered. But, yeah, so they have each other's like cell numbers, and they're actually buddies because like they get about as big a kick out of it as anybody else does. He has really been the ultimate impact. My father, who goes by George S. Clinton as as his film composer name. From as far back as I can remember, he was infusing my life with music in the most nurturing way, not in like a creepy violin prodigy like Mozartian way. Yeah, oh yeah, very good. I was also quite a directive young child, so I would make him sit down and kind of dictate the terms of a song I wanted to write when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and it was funny. He loved it, but he would also like document this process, and it's there for me to enjoy now. I'd be like, wow, I was really bossy. But anyway, we would write songs together. We would play music together. I went to a grade school that was very arts-oriented, but more like arts and storytelling and community. It was very progressive, very liberal, and really that emphasized, self-expression and cultural, like storytelling and diversity as much as it did more traditional academic pursuits, and which kind of screws you for standardized testing, but worth it in the big picture. Yeah. You get over that hump. Anyway, but he's just amazing. He's still my hero, and one of my dearest best friends, and just my mentor, and he and I are extremely similar in a lot of ways, having to do with music and otherwise. So I think that we have actually been a very big support system for each other. I remember coming and giving him like pep talks out here in his studio when I was just a kid, and he was having trouble with something. And it's like there's always been that bond between us that kind of understand the other person's, I guess, artistic sensibilities or kind of what they need in that moment. So that's been really nice. He couldn't be a more proud, supportive dad, and he's never once never once made me feel like I have to go into music.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
as
awesome.
an extension. Yeah, he's thrilled because of course he relates, and you know, it's something he can actually help me with in some ways, and but yeah, it's never been something I've been pressured to do, so it's been really nice.
Because it could easily go the other way.
Yes. Yeah. It's never been an extension of his own ego. And I think that maybe he felt that way with his dad, or whether he saw that in other people, but my parents had me little later in life, in whatever capacity that was never my situation, and I'm really grateful for that, actually.
Nice. Who are your other musical inspirations?
Oh man, I have quite a diverse range, and I love that. But so when I was a kid in the 90s, so my first 2 cassette tapes were Little Richard, Greatest Hits. He was definitely a big player in my book. This is like 5 too. I had a yellow Sony boombox with like stickers all over it, you know, as you do.
And playing Little Richard, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, and then I had this Celtic fusion album called Nahu, which is by a guy named Paul Mounsey, and he would like travel the world and lived in Brazil for a long time and fuse Brazilian percussion with like Celtic traditional tunes. And it sounds kind of like Celtic Moby almost, if you will. So those were like literally my 2 biggest like early on. And as I grew up, I got, you know, my dad has always really been into the Beatles and the band and that era of things, and I got very much into Joni Mitchell. I had a very large Oingo Boingo phase in high school with Danny Elfman, and like just totally obsessed with that. And yeah, so it's been fairly eclectic. I still listen to a lot of Celtic music. I still listen to a lot of classic rock, a lot of old folk Americana. I love music from all over the world. I kind of hate the term world music because it's just like, you know, we're the standard and everything else is world. It's like ethnic food, you know. Anyway, but it's just pet peeve of mine. Yeah, but that's always been. I studied songwriting and folk musicology. Was my self-named major in college, so nice. I've kind of been always fascinated with origins and kind of pathways that music will take.
Awesome. Sure. How did you get involved with Bellehouse?
So, Bellehouse is a creation of mine and my good friend and kind of musical partner in crime, Sarah Haynes. And it was originally, it was started about 4 years ago under a different name. We were called Skies originally. My roommate, B, in the band, who sang and played banjo. And we got our bassist friend to join in, and I'd worked with Sarah a little bit. We had jammed some in college, and so yeah, I wrote a few songs. It was originally revolving around my music, but it intentionally became much more, and Sarah started writing for it. Since that roommate of mine sang and played banjo, we have a couple other women who have come through as that third voice. Like, we've always really revolved around 3-part harmony. And so right now, she joined about maybe a year and a half ago. Her name's Mackenzie Shivers. She's a really very talented woman. So it's Sarah, Mackenzie, and I who are the 3 like front women, and we've since grown to 6 people. But along the way, there's been a number of different friends and people who have come in. We've gone from being very folk Americana to much more like Americana rock, kind of the whole like Crosby, Stills and Nash with like 3 front people and 3 writers and that kind of thing. But originally it was, I guess, to come back to the question. Sorry, it was.
No, it's all good.
I just wanted to play, I wanted to play music not just for myself, and I wanted to write music not just for myself. I had been doing that a little bit in New York, and it's kind of sad and lonely if it's like especially if you're just starting out, doing open mics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're like a wee 18-year-old kid. So, but it's been this great collaborative effort ever since. So, yeah.
That's awesome. What does each person bring to the band? You touched on it a little.
Yeah, so it is, going back to describing how it is now, there are the three front women, and we sometimes just play shows, just the three of us, and I call us the front women because we're also the writers, and each writer is the lead singer on her own song, and the other two are essentially backup, but I don't know, it feels like much more than that. It's a bit of a passing of the hat, it's a bit of of the torch, or whatever it is. It's this sense of community, and of the three of us, this kind of trifecta, and it's actually really cool to go from being the person where you're thinking as the writer and as the lead performer to then being the back, to being the support, which is its own completely different challenge. Are the people who are not writers at this time for the band, everyone, it's funny because everybody who's in the band has wonderful compositions that they've written and are involved in other projects. Ryan Gross is a friend of mine who is or a friend of all of ours now, obviously. This is my friend. Who plays banjo. He plays a lot of other stuff. He's also a songwriter. He also is sings backup for us sometimes. And then Yuka Tadano is our bassist, and Cody Ron is our drummer. And they are fantastic musicians who play in a lot of different projects in New York. And I really aspire to be like them in the way that they are. Self-sustaining, self-supporting, financially, and just in terms of what they want to do in New York City as musicians. And so it's interesting because everybody brings something that's a little bit different, but ultimately everybody in the band is a really talented musician and an excellent human being, and that I feel very lucky for, because we really haven't had, there's been no drama, no fallouts, anything like that. Yeah, there's always the struggles of having a group that's that large, that's trying to manage, but it's a wonderful group of people in terms of what everyone brings to the community.
What's your favorite venue that you have played?
In general?
In general.
Man, well, one special performance is not really a venue, but was this past January at NAMM, which is a huge music, it's actually a music merchant convention, so almost every accessory, every big brand name for any kind of music thing that you buy is there, and has a booth, and it's like a big trade show. But they have a number of stages, and we, I think probably because of our size, actually managed to book the biggest stage there in the afternoon. Awesome. And it was the first time we'd really had a sound backline that was not a New York City club, bar, amps in a loud room where the sound guy is really trying desperately to make it work. There are, not all venues are created equal in that way in New York either, but in this case it was out here in Anaheim, and it was basically what you'd imagine a stadium style or a festival style stage, where it was really big. There was a guy, running sound. There was so many monitors. It sounded incredible, and it was kind of whatever I think band aspires to sound like on stage, just in terms of the technical side of it. That was really special because I think it encouraged us to go for what we've been reaching for, which is this fuller sound, which is this, we are a folk Americana-based kind of folk rock band, but we can fill that size sound system, We have that capacity. So, yeah, that was really, really special. We played the Hotel Cafe a couple times out here, which is really nice, and I like a lot. We play Rockwood Music Hall all the time in New York, which is it's changing a little bit like everything else, but it's nice in that it's a consistent place to book. They do care about the musicians, and they care about the quality there. There's a lot of bars there that are oh, we're also venues, unless you're kind of a grungy noise rock band, where it's your part of your vibe is the chaos of sound. You don't want to play as a folk act with a lot of nuanced vocal harmonies and acoustic instruments, So it's that's been good. We played the Poisson Rouge at one point, which was excellent, and yeah, we're actually going to have a brief appearance in a variety show coming up soon at Joe's Pub, which is a great place in New York. If you have a chance to really go see anything there, it's fantastic. It's part of the Public Theater, which puts on like Shakespeare in the Park and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
But it has Joe's Pub. The venue is essentially more of like a nightclub kind of vibe, and by nightclub I don't mean like kind of thing. I mean like there's tables and candlelight, and there's a variety show, and we're actually being a part of that soon. So we're hoping that will lead to maybe some bigger stuff there too. So
Nice.
yeah.
So you released Capsized in January. What's your personal favorite song off that?
Oh, well, I'm extremely biased because, I wrote some of the songs on it. But no, I mean, probably, there's so many, like, I have like different reasons why different songs mean a lot to me, I guess, from that album. One is the title track, Capsized. That's probably maybe the most raw, like, honest kind of love song that I've written for someone who it just didn't work out with, is like really how you would say it. But I've had that one in the vault for a while, and it just kind of felt right to bring out. And that one on the album, if you listen, is it's very, very bare. It's very stripped down. It's me with an acoustic guitar, and then comes in this kind of choir of strings. And we did something interesting, which was we didn't have like a string quartet or anything. We recorded in a barn up in Woodstock, and our viola player arranged a string section, and she played every part. So it's only viola and bass actually layered in many, many tracks, and the end result was so much more haunting, and just such a beautiful expansion of what I'd hoped the original song could even come close to being.
Yeah.
And it actually transitions in like sonically in kind of a concept album way into the next song, Devil's Sound, which is kind of this bluegrass romp that I wrote with Sarah. I love that one. Another track that kind of came out just. We were in the studio, and it just kind of it sounded so good just immediately after we recorded it, with Snow by Mackenzie Shivers, and that song is just so beautiful and so peaceful. So these are all kind of earthy, kind of sultry tracks in their own way. There are some really great upbeat songs on it too that are a little bit more, a little bit more like, I mean, upbeats are really trite way of putting it, but it's they're more playful while still being a little bit gritty and pretty. I really didn't want that to rhyme, but it did. Anyway, so
it rhymes. I'm
going to leave that there. I'm going to stop talking now.
What's coming up next for your band and yourself?
That's a good question. We just released the album. We released it ourselves, which is a challenging thing to do because you don't have any other man or woman person power behind the album to really, you're kind of exhausted afterwards, and you're like, here it is, But we have like I said, we have the Joe's Pub thing coming up. We're playing at the Knitting Factory at one point, and hopefully are going to tour within some incarnation of the band, tour a little bit, do the summer festival circuit, and and then for me, I'm thinking about getting the wheels turning on probably a more solo project with some songs that I've written that I feel like are for something, but maybe not necessarily for Bellehouse. But right now, Bellehouse is definitely like my main piece. So
the main jam.
My main jam, yeah. And so we're doing great. We have a lot of merch that we're selling related to the album, done by a friend of mine named Kate Dedlow, who I went to high school with, and she's a woodcut artist, and so she actually printed a lot of the shirts and posters and stuff by hand. At her printing press at home, and they're beautiful. I don't think I'm wearing one, no. But I wear them all the time, which is maybe kind of hacky because it's my own band, but they're really comfy, cool looking t-shirts. So yeah, I like collaborating with friends in that way too.
Nice. What's her name?
Kate Dedlow.
Questions.
Cool.
So thank you, Jessica Clinton, for being on Behind the Birk.
Thank you very much.